Hello everyone, welcome to this class. So in this class, we are going to discuss about functions, where we will discuss what exactly function is, the definition of the function, and we will see how to define the functions, how we call the functions, and there are some basic functionalities. So in coming videos, we will cover all these topics where we will discuss about the parameters, return values, lambda functions, higher order functions and functional tools, decorators and closures, recursion and performance, and there are a couple of AI/ML use cases. And we will be discussing at the end of the function topic regarding some interview questions we are asked in Mang Fang like companies. So before moving to function, I would like you to do this quiz. So this quiz again contains 10 questions and each question is having 4 options. So you need to do this quiz so that it will be beneficial for your revision and submit it. I'll give the link of this quiz into the comment box. You can take it from there. So now let's start with definition. What is function? So a function in Python is a reusable block of code designed to perform a specific task. It helps improve modularity, readability of code, and reusability of code. So these are the three major features of function. So what is the bit? So what is the difference? Why function matters? So let's talk about as an interview insight. In production level systems like Google, functions are critical because break complex problem into smaller unit. So this is one of the beauty of function where we break the bigger problem into smaller units or smaller task, and that is where modular design comes into the picture. Avoid repetition. So you are not repeating again and again. That is also one of the benefit. Improve testing and debugging. So it helps us to test more, debug, and it helps into debugging which function does what, and enable abstraction and clean API approach. So this is also one of the benefit. We will discuss it in the web application design side. So how to define those functions? So there are two parts of function. One is function definition and function calling. So when I said function definition, that is where we need to define the function first. So how to define the function? You use def. Def is a keyword. Then your function name. So this function name can be anything. So it's user defined. But better, whatever this function does, you can give the name to here like variables, right? It is a meaningful name of the function. Then use small bracket, and in small bracket you can pass the parameters. So let's say parameter 1, parameter 2, and so on, and number of parameters you can pass. So these parameters are optional. Now you can use colon, then you have to give a tab space. So this tab space will say that whatever you are writing here, this block belongs to this function. So this is how you define any function. So this is first part. Second part is function calling. So what we do, so to call the function, you do a function name, whatever the name of the function you have defined, then small bracket, and you pass the values, value 1, value 2, value 3, based on the number of parameters you have defined for the function. So again, if you don't have any parameter here, you no need to pass any value. So this is optional part. What is must? You should define a keyword. This is a key one of the keyword, and this is the function name. You can give any name to it, and then small bracket, then the block. Don't forget to have tab space. Now why functions? So I'll come to this topic. Let's define one function first. So if we see this example, so I have defined a function def say hello, and I'm printing here hello, welcome to this function, have a nice day. and I'm returning a string as well. So any function can return a value. So let's suppose here I'm calling it like this, say hello. So I'll execute the first statement. So once I run my code, see here, this is very basic. I define a function here. I print hello, welcome to function, have a nice day, and then I'm returning a greeting, greeted successfully. But when I call say hello, it prints only these three lines, not this one, greeted successfully. Why? Because return is returning this string. So you have to store it somewhere. So this is how we can store a return. So if it returns greeted successfully, and then I can print this value. So say hello function is returning greeted successfully and storing into result. So when I run it, the output is this. See now we are able to print it. So by default, any function returns none. For example, let's say I have a function def print message, and I'm not returning anything, and I say result equals to print message. So here I'm calling the function. So this function returns none like this. So any function by default it returns none. It's up to you how if you want to return anything you can return. So this is the way we define a function without parameter. Now we will define some parameterized function. So for example, let's say this is the one function with parameters. So what we are doing here is def sum is the function name, and I'll comment I'll uncomment this section. So now if you see, this is the function and this is the function definition where there are three parameters. So if I hover on it, you see here it says these are the functions. This is the function sum, and having num1, num2, num3 is the three parameters. And I'm saying data equals to num1 plus num2 plus num3, and I'm returning the data here. So I'm adding all the values of the variables and then returning the data. This is the function definition. So function will not execute without calling. You should call it. So how to call this function? Sum, the function name, and the value you can pass inside it. So this value mapping will go like this. Sum 10, 20, 30. First value to first parameter, second value to second parameter, third value to third parameter. It goes like that. And this is returning data. So it will return the sum of all three values. So this will print 60. So if I execute this program, see the output, it returns 60. Now what exactly the line number 58 to 60? I'm asking user to input the numbers and then passing these value to sum. So this is where you can pass the variables also. So let's say enter num1 20, num2 30, num3 40, and then the sum of all these three values is 90. So this is how you can get the input from the user and execute your function. Why function? This is the interview question. So in AI ML, why function is important? So functions are the building block of modular, reusable and testable code. Like here, I told, right? It increase the modularity, readability of code and reusability. I can reuse the code again and again. I can call the same function n number of times based on my requirement. So in AI/ML, let's say we define activation function, preprocessing pipeline, model evaluation matrix, and hyperparameter tuning loops. So it does a specific task. One task we can build a function and we can call it anywhere. And this is the senior's expectation when you are going for interview. And if you are a senior folk, then This is what the interviewer expects from you. Write functions that are clear, well documented, and handle edge cases. So whenever you write a function or any business logic within the function, make sure you are writing a clear function. The documentation is good. The docstring is involved. So I'll discuss what exactly docstring is, and it should handle all the corner cases. So testing should be covered. Where we come with the unit testing. We will cover it in coming lectures. Understand function internals, how the scope works, how closures works, and decorators. This is also we are gonna cover in next to next lecture. Use functional programming pattern like map, filter, reduce to concise data transformation. So this is the one of the area from where interviewer asks questions. So we'll discuss map, filter, reduce in detail also. Now let's move to the next topic called docstring. So what exactly docstring is? You can do the documentation of any function. So how to do that? So let's say take this example. I have a function sum. There are three parameters. So you should document it properly. So how to document it? This is the way. So first line will tell what the function does. This function takes three numbers as input and returns their sum. So anyone who is a, a developer or anyone who is reading your code, he should be able to understand what exactly this function does. Then the arguments. So there are three arguments, and we share here the type of the argument also. Let's say num1 integer, first number, num2 integer, second number, like that. And then you should define returns. What exactly it returns? So it returns an integer, the sum of three numbers. So this is called docstring. This is well maintained docstring. If you see any library, public library or internal library, they would have the function. For example, if I say here json.dump, so dump is a function. So if I go to dump function, you see this is the docstring where it says everything, all corner cases covered here. So this is how you should define the docstring of any function, and this is must if you are a senior full or if you are thinking as a best practice. So this is one of the best practice. And here, how you can print that documentation. So this is the way. Print function name dot double underscore doc double underscore. So if you give like this, then you will see this. Let me enter this 34, 34, 5. So if you see this function takes three numbers. So it returns all the docstring which you have written for this function. So make sure whenever you are creating a function, you should cover the docstring. Now let's take this example. I have a function called create employee record, and there are couple of parameters: name, age, DOB, salary. So you can assign a default value to it, but make sure if you have mandatory parameters. For example, I will keep name as mandatory, age will be default none, or maybe I can say 0, and DOB can be none, and salary can be 50,000. So whenever you have couple of parameters where I want this function as it accepts some optional arguments or mandatory arguments, you can define in this way. But the order should be mandatory first, then default arguments. So now if you see this function, what it does, it accepts these arguments and create the dictionary. So let's take the example of this. Create employee record. I'm calling this function and where I'm passing Rohan, 30, DOB and salary. So when I'm passing first time, then it takes all the input and let me just comment this section where I'm asking users input. So one second. Yeah. So this will be easier now for us. Okay, so let's see line number missing argument name. Okay, yeah. So let's go back to our this function. So what we are doing here is I'll comment this section also so that you will understand better. So if I run this program now, see the output. So data one create employee record and I'm printing the data one. So the output is name is Rohan. So whatever values I'm passing from this function calling to function definition, it maps in that way. So it's created the dictionary. Name is Rohan, age is 30, DOB is this, salary is this. Now let's suppose if I pass the values like this, where I'm passing name, age, and DOB, I'm not passing salary. So salary will be taken as a default value. If you see 50,000, this is the default value will be considered. Now let's suppose if I pass like this, data 3, create employee record. So now at least one mandatory parameter we need to pass. So I can pass like Mohit. So now if I say print, the name will be Mohit, age, DOB and salary will go to default value. It will take default value as 0, none, 50,000. Why? Because we have initialized here. So this is how you can create the optional or mandatory fields into any function. So next call. So in next class, we will discuss about the variable length arguments like args and quarks, how to accept tuple as positional argument or dictionary of keyword arguments. Thank you for watching.